Hello, everyone. And today we wanted to talk to you about a topic that we saw there is a wide interest in, and we wanted to have a conversation with you about it. And the topic is toxic workplace. And I spent some time researching and looking up, and I saw how it was introduced. And I want to introduce it, both of us want to introduce it a little bit different. So we all have our different definition of what toxic workplace is. But if you're there and that title resonated with you, so our question to you is, do you believe that a toxic environment within an organization is something that you don't contribute to? It's something that happens to you? It's something that you have no control over? Or maybe there is another option, meaning that you can change it from the inside, that you have something to do with it, that you can change it, and not necessarily something is outside of you that you don't have control. Lena, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you bring a great point. We can look at any situation, from both sides, right? We just tend to blame and judge the work environment, the people around us for their negativity, toxicity, whatever that is, while we are the innocent bystanders and we have no part in it. And just going from personal example, I was in a work situation at one stage in my career where I was working with a person, and we literally sat side by side, and he was a very senior developer. So he was actually there to help me, to mentor me. And I never knew what version of him I will get. One day he would be really, really helpful. He'd be making jokes and laughing. And next day he would be very abrupt and rude. And it was very stressful for me. So some days I would literally come home and I'd have a meltdown because it would really impact me. And I would always blame him for being so inconsistent, so rude, so condescending. But actually, well, two things happen. The first thing is because I was really unhappy because of that. I decided that it was time for me to look for something new. And as always, whenever I decide, I want to look for something new always comes to me. So as a result, I got actually an amazing opportunity to go and contract. I think it was in Sweden after this job. So I went to Sweden and I absolutely loved the place I worked. Whereas if it wasn't for that person, I wouldn't have made an effort to go and actually create a new opportunity. But now looking at this also situation from a different lens, I can see that he actually wasn't he was not the person that was injuring me. He wasn't the person who was affecting me or making me weak or making me sad. I was doing it to myself. And actually, when I then analyze the situation, I can ask myself, where was I showing up inconsistently in my life, right? And it doesn't even need to be with that person. It could have been with my friends, with my family, anywhere. So actually, was I subconsciously or unconsciously creating that situation in my work? And the answer is definitely yes.
Thank you for making it personal and setting the scenario and bringing us detail that it will clear the topic that we are talking to. I want to bring to the conversation a few definitions. First, if we think that something is happening to us, we are walking around with a victim mentality. Victim mentality basically defines its spirituality is that we are here, we are separate, and stuff are happening to us. We have no control of it. We just have to sit here and watch out how life are going to, just throw us a curveball, devastate us, send us stuff that we don't necessarily want. It usually comes with, why does it happen to me, and so on. So first, I don't think both of us do not encourage you to have a victim mentality. Okay, you do have control. And the minute you are starting that conversation, a whole momentum starts and we are losing the power of actually creating our reality. That's first. Second of all, we are creators. So I keep saying that to you. Creators mean that by observing, by perceiving a situation, we have actually the ability to create something. Usually when we see a picture, we project outside. What we have inside usually comes up in the picture. For example, if I'm a happy, positive person, that's the most simple example I can use. If you're positive, most likely you would look at situation positively. Why? Because this is who you are, okay? And everybody will say it about you. He's a positive person, and there is no right or wrong. There will be people that are more negative, but that was basically who you are, which means that by first understanding a toxic environment, we need to understand what role are we playing. And I'm not saying anything about doing. I'm not saying you're shouting or fighting or whatever toxic means to you. I'm not saying you're actually participating. Okay, I'm asking about how do you perceive the picture? Why is that reflecting? How is that show up inside of you that this is what you are actually perceiving? Why did Lena in the situation that she had somebody coming to work and every day he didn't show up? Why the hell would she care how he show up if she will show up the way she wanted to, for example? Sorry, Lena, to ride on your story, but I just wanted to continue. but first, understand what part are you taking in it with it, because I'm happy that it succeeded for Lena and she landed at her next opportunity. And when you finish the journey of understanding where you playing a part by absorbing the situation in a certain way, you can still decide that you leave. We're not telling you what to do. We're just telling you, we're basically saying all the time, if you're not going to do the work, you're going to land up at the next opportunity. And guess what? That toxicity will show up again. Why? Because you haven't done the internal work. Okay. So what am I asking of you is break down the situation, understand exactly what does not resonate with you. When it doesn't resonate with you, or you don't want to stand for this behavior, understand how you participating in it, meaning where are you not standing by who you are, not saying where you draw the line or how you would like to be treated, for example. Fix that, and then understand if this is something that you would still want to live with or not. But I most certain that by changing those small things, like understanding our boundaries, how we want to be treated and so on, things will definitely, if not completely change, would look a bit better. The picture and the atmosphere will not completely, but definitely change. Lena?
Yeah, and also I think, it also comes to, I guess, our tolerance level, because let's say if I was a different person, I didn't have my self-doubts and beliefs about how people should treat me and should behave towards me for me to see my own value, my worth. If I was feeling more confident in myself, perhaps his behavior would not have affected me, I mean, I would have shrugged it off. I'm like, oh, there he goes, off he goes again. I wouldn't have taken it so personally. So we really, we need to understand that how other people behave towards us actually has nothing to do with us. Because if you get into the shoes of that person, you may understand why they do that, because I didn't know anything about his childhood. I didn't know anything about his traumas. I didn't know how he grew up. I mean, I knew absolutely nothing about that person apart from the way he was showing up at work. And that's not really enough for me to make any sort of judgment. And actually, who am I to even judge someone else, right? So, instead of then blaming the circumstances or people and saying this is a toxic environment or this person is toxic, they disrespect me, you can ask yourself, why am I being affected by this? Why is this person actions, their limitations, their projections, why are they affecting me? Who am I? What role am I playing in this? And I believe that there are two reasons why we sometimes kind of, I would say choose circumstances like that, or we experience things like that. One is that there are lessons for us to learn about ourselves. So this is a really great opportunity to start understanding ourselves better. Why is this impacting me? And I think in a previous video, I did say, if somebody came to you and you say you're a purple elephant, you'd be like, well, that's ridiculous, because you've got no frame of reference what purple elephant means. You've got no emotions associated with the purple elephant. Well, you may do, but most people wouldn't. But if somebody said to you, you are untidy, your desk is a mess, or you're inadequate, that would trigger you. That would cause anger and frustration and sadness. It's like, how dare you? And that's because maybe in your past, in your childhood, your parents like put you in a corner or send you to your room if you didn't tidy up your room, whatever that may be, right? So we need to understand that this other person is only mirroring us, our insecurities, and it's a great opportunity to understand where this insecurities come from. All this person is just a messenger. So we should really stop shooting the messenger. And we need to then understand another thing is that something within us we need to clean up, right? It's not others' responsibilities for making us feel stable and secured and loved and appreciated. It would be nice, but it's on us. We've got to take ownership for that.
That's basically what I was trying to emphasize, that we need to do the internal work. You know, Dr. Joe opened every conference by asking the people to look to the right and introduce themselves as amazing, incredible, genius person. And usually everybody cracks up with embarrassment. Because I don't think without him saying that, anybody will ever introduce himself like that. And how is that connected to us? Because he has another story that is connected to toxicity. He's saying that somebody came to consult with him, and he was in a public outrage or whatever. Somebody came up to him and said to him something like, "You're an idiot. How did you park?" And from there it degraded. And then Dr. Joe asked him a simple question: "Are you an idiot?" And then the person said, "No." So if you're not an idiot, why did you answer? And you know, when you put it like this, it's kind of funny, because yes, you are a genius. Not necessarily you have to say it, but you know, act out of who you really are and first see it. So when you are in a toxic environment, as we defined it in the beginning, you would still know your value. As Lena said, nothing has been done to us. Everybody can show up how they want, but it's not personal. So don't let it define you or tell you who you are with an idiot or whatever. The fact that somebody come pissed off or talk not necessarily as the way you want it, first you can put the boundary and say, it has nothing to do with me. I need to know who I am, regardless of how. It's like the weather. You have no control over the weather. You have no control how people are going to show up to work.
Yeah, and we've got to understand that it's not the circumstances that are upsetting us, but it's our thoughts about the circumstances, right? So let's say if somebody told me, "You are so untidy," I'd be like, it wouldn't bother me, because like I just don't have an experience like that. You know, I'm sure like my room was always tidy. I am tidy. I can be messy, but it doesn't really bother me. But for someone else, it would trigger them. So if we constantly try to change people around us to make us feel a certain way, we would never. We'd literally exhaust ourselves trying to rearrange everything around ourselves to make us feel safe and supported. And in the meantime, the good news is that there's only one thing that needs to be changed, and that's our perception of ourselves. So we then have to become more observant. Like, you know, if somebody is really triggering us, or a certain situation at work or at home, doesn't really matter where, we've got to then catch that emotion and like, okay, what are the thoughts about this emotion? What am I thinking? And what really helped me was to actually start then remembering the previous memories, maybe from my childhood when I was a teenager, whatever, earlier memories where the same emotions would come up for me, and actually go back in there and view them through a different lens and start reprogramming these events and giving them a new meaning. So I know now, if I had to work with this guy, in all honesty, it just wouldn't bother me, because I understand that his anger or frustration, his impatience with me had nothing to do with who I am. And to be honest, I also lose my patience. So it knows, right? I sometimes also I lose my patience. I like completely like just, you know, like if I don't know, something happens, we are all humans. And if we all reacted to each other based on how people are feeling around us, it's just going to get exhausting. So the only thing we can really change and control is ourselves.
Great. And if after everything in this reflection, I think that the toxicity, and we spoke about opportunities. So even if you find yourself in something that you call a toxicity, and by the end of the day, it will drive you to have a better understanding of who you are, I think it's still good. You can always leave. You can always reach the decision to leave. But if you're doing the homework and you're understanding where it meets you, so next time you wouldn't create the same thing, and it's all an improvement, and it's all for a better purpose of progressing yourself.
Yeah, and there's also, just like to add to it, you know, I mean, there are obviously circumstances where the environment is unbearable, right? And we're not taking away that the fact that it can really happen, where you're doing the best you can, but you are just completely drained by the people or by the job or by the culture. And remember, we all have a choice, right? Like you open up this video to say we are powerful creators. So what is it actually that you want? You know, that comes all to our personal values and personal boundaries. And then, yeah, sometimes it is a great opportunity to walk away, but not to walk away with like, oh, why does things always happen to me? But it's like, hey, I'm better than this. I know I deserve better than this. Let me actually go and create a life that is in alignment with who I truly am.
Like doing the homework. This is exactly what we mean, that the universe is not giving you something that you cannot take out as a benefit to yourself. And this is one more example where Steph, you already went through the experience, and we understand it's not an easy place to go to work every day with those emotions. We're not going to define what it is because it's not our job. But we are talking about this is how you think you're going to work every day, and the emotions are not great. We can relate to that. But if you went through it, make sure you're not going about it the second time. Make the homework, make the progress. At least all this was not for nothing.
Yeah, and actually, you know what? Actually, sometimes you can go through the same thing, right? And I mean, sometimes we do repeat the same patterns, and we can recreate the same thing over and over. And I've done it in all aspects of my life until eventually you like catch yourself and like, hang on a second. Didn't it just happen in the previous thing and in the previous? Well, I'm the common denominator. So what can I do? And then it's up to you, like you said, do your homework.
And have our YouTube channel. If you had our YouTube channel, you saw us talking about maybe
yeah, no, you'd be like perfect. You'd be like living a dream life, like sailing in a yacht somewhere in the Mediterranean or wherever it is that you want to be.
I have a perfect life. So it's a great place to close this video, and then we will see everybody on the next time.
Yeah, and remember, if this resonates, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.